Hello YouTube creators and subscribers, I just wanted to thank you all for tuning into my video. Today we're going to be going through one of the older scriptures in the world. Now this scripture is titled Instructions for Shuruppak. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. And he was the son of Ubara-tutu. They're significant Sumerian wisdom literature. And now this literature was to teach proper piety and virtues, among other things. As you can see, we're at the Wikipedia page, where it lists the short description of what it is. But we're going to go ahead and read what it's all about. So, the Instructions of Shuruppak, translation into English. In those days, in those far remote days, in those nights, in those faraway nights, in those years, in those far remote years, at the time, the wise who knew how to speak in elaborate words lived in the land of Šuruppak. The wise one who knew how to speak with elaborate words lived in the land. Šuruppak gave instructions to his son. Šuruppak, the son of Ubara-tutu, gave his instructions to his son, Sara. My son, let me give you instructions. You should pay attention. Shara, let me speak a word to you. You should pay attention. Do not neglect my instructions. Do not transgress the words I speak. The instructions of an old man are precious, and you should comply with them. You should not buy a donkey which brays. It will split your midriff. You should not locate a field on a road. You should not plow a field or a road or a path. You should not make a well in your field. People will cause damage on it for you. You should not place your house next to a public square. There's always a crowd there. You should not vouch for someone, that the man will hold you on it, and therefore yourself should not let anyone vouch for you, that the man will despise you. You should not make an inspection on a man. The flood will give it back to you. You should not loiter about where there is a quarrel or fight. You should not let the fight make you a witness. You should not let yourself be in a fight. You should not cause a fight. The gates of the palace stand aside from a quarrel, or you should take another road. You should not steal anything. You should not yourself. You should not break into a house. You should not wish for money chest that is not yours. A thief is a lion, but after he has been caught, he will be a slave. My son, you should not commit robbery. You shall not cut yourself with an axe. You should not make yourself or make your young man a best man. You should not yourself. You should not play around with a married woman. The slander could be serious. My son, you should not sit alone in a chamber with a married woman. You should not pick a fight. You should not disgrace yourself. You should not tell lies. You should not boast. Then your words will be trusted. You should not deliberately for too long, or deliberate for too long. You cannot bear any glances. You should not eat stolen food with anyone. You should not sink your hands into blood. After that, you have been apportioned the bones you will be made to restore. The ox you will be made to restore. The sheep. You should not speak improperly. Later, it will lay a trap for you. You should not scatter your sheep into unknown pastures. You should not hire someone's ox for uncertainty. Safe means a safe journey. You should not travel during the night. It could hide both good and evil. You should not buy an oat. It lasts only until the end of the day. You should not have sex with your slave girl. She will chew you up. You shall not curse strongly. It rebounds on you. You shall not draw up water which you cannot reach. It will make you weak. You shall not drive away a debtor. He will be hostile towards you. You should not establish a home with an arrogant man. He will make your life like that of a slave girl. You will not be able to travel through any human dwelling without being shouted at, "There you go, there you go." You should not undo the garden's reed fence. Restore it, they will say to you. You should not provide a stranger with food. You should not wipe out a fight. My son, you should not use violence. You should not commit rape on someone's daughter. The courtyard will learn of it. You should not drive away a powerful, strong man. You should not destroy the outer wall. You should not drive away a young man. You should not make him turn against the city. The eyes of the slanderers always move around as swiftly as a spindle. You shall not never remain in his presence. His intentions should not be allowed to have effect on you. You shall not boast in beer halls or breweries like a deceitful man. Having reached the field of manhood, you shall not jump with your hand. The warrior is unique. He alone is equal of many. You too is unique. He alone is equal of many. With your life, you shall always be on the side of the warrior. Your life, you shall always be on the side of Utu. Šuruppak give these instructions to his son. Šuruppak, his son, Ubuntu gave his instructions to his son, Zihadar. My son, let me give you the instructions. You shall pay attention, and let me speak. And you shall not neglect or not transgress from these words I speak. The instructions of the old men are precious. You shall comply with them. The beer drinking mouth, my little one, the beer drinking mouth, Nen kasi. Your own man will not repay it for you. The reed beds are, they can hide slander. The palace is like a mighty river. Its middle is a goring bull. What flows is never enough to fill it. What flows can never be stopped. When it is about someone else's bread, it is easy to say, I will give it to you. But the time of actually giving can be as far away as the sky. If you go after the man who said, I will give it to you, he will say, I cannot give it to you. The bread has just been finished. Property. Property is something expanded, but nothing can be equal, my little ones. The artistic mouth recites words. The harsh mouth brings litigation documents. The sweet mouth gathers sweet herbs. The glorious, or the liar's, fills his bread bag. The haughty one brings an empty bag and can fill his empty mouth only with boastings. Who works with leather will eventually work with his own leather. The strong one can escape from anyone's hand. The fool loses something. When sleeping, the fool loses something. Do not tie me up, he pleads. Let me live, he pleads. The imprudent decrees fate. The shameless one piles up things in another's lap. I am such that I deserve admiration. A weak wife is always seized by fate. If you hire a worker, he will share your bread bag with you. He eats with you from the same bag and finishes up the bag with you. Then he will quit work with you and say, I have to live on something. He will serve at the palace. You tell your sons to come to your home. You tell your daughter to go to her women quarters. You shall not pay judgment when you drink beer, or you should not pass judgment when you drink beer. You should not worry unduly about what leaves the house. Heaven is far. Earth is most precious, but it is with heaven that you multiply your goods, and all foreign lands breathe under heaven. At harvest time, at the most priceless time, collect like a slave girl, eat like a queen, my son, to collect like a slave girl, to eat like a queen. This is how it should be. Who insults can hurt only the skin. Greedy eyes, however, can kill. The liar shouting tears up his garments. Insults bring advice to the wicked. To speak arrogantly is like abscess, a herb that makes the stomach sick. My words of prayer bring abundance. Prayer is cool water that cools my heart. Only insults and stupid speaking receiving the attention of the land. Šuruppak gave these instructions to his son. Šuruppak gave his son Ubara-tutu gave these instructions to his son Zid-ud-Sara. A third time, Šuruppak gave instructions to his son. Šuruppak, the son of Ubara-tutu, gave his instructions to his son Zid-ud-Sara. My son, let me give you instructions. You shall pay attention. Zid-ud-Sara. Let me speak a word to you. You shall pay attention. Do not neglect my instructions. Do not transgress the words I speak. The instructions of the old man are precious. You shall comply with them. You shall not beat a farmer's son. He was constructed your embankments and your ditches. You shall not buy a prostitute. She is a mouth that bites. You shall not buy a horse-born slave. He is a herb that makes the stomach sick. You shall not buy a free man. He will always lean against the wall. You shall not buy a palace slave girl. She will always be the bottom of the barrel. You shall rather bring down a foreign slave from the mountains, or you shall bring somebody from a place where he is an alien. My son, then he will pour water for you where the sun rises, and he will walk before you. He does not belong to any family, so he does not want to go to his family. He does not belong to any city, so he does not want to go to any city. He cannot knock on the door, or he cannot enter. He will not with you. He will not be presumptuous with you. My son, you shall not travel alone eastwards. Your acquaintance should not a name place on another one. You shall not pile up a mountain on another one. Fate is a wet bank. It can make one slip. The elder brother is indeed like a father. The elder sister is indeed like a mother. Listen therefore to the elder brother. You shall be obedient to the elder sister, as if she were your mother. You shall not work using only your eyes. You will only multiply your possessions using only your mouth. The negligent one ruins his family. The need for food makes someone ascend to the mountains. It also brings traders and foreigners, since the need brings food down for other people from the other mountains. A small city provides its king with calf. A huge city digs a house plot, is well equipped. The poor man inflicts all kinds of illnesses on the rich man. The married man is well equipped. The unmarried man makes his bed in a haystack. He who wishes to destroy a house will go ahead and destroy the house. He who wishes to rise up will go ahead and rise up. By grasping the neck of a huge ox, you can cross the river. By moving along at the side of mighty men of your city, my son, you will certainly ascend. You will bring a slave girl from the hills. She will bring good and evil with her. The good is in her hands. The evil is in her heart. The heart does not let go of the good, but the heart cannot let go of evil either. As if it were a watery place, the heart does not abandon the good. Evil is a storeroom. May the boat with the evil sink in the river. May his water skin split in the desert. A loving heart maintains a family. A hateful heart destroys a family. To have authority, to have possessions, and to be steadfast are princely divine powers. You should submit to be respected. You should be humble before the powerful. My son, you will then survive against the wicked. You should not choose a wife during a festival. Inside her belly is an illusionary, and outside is illusionary. The silver on her is borrowed. The lapis lazuli on her is borrowed. The jewelry on her is borrowed. The jewelry on her is borrowed. The dress on her is borrowed. The linen garment is borrowed. You shall not buy a bull. You shall not buy a vicious bull, a hoe, or the cattle pen. One appoints a reliable woman of a good household. You should not buy a donkey at the time of harvest. A donkey which eats will with another donkey. A vicious donkey hangs its neck. However, a vicious man, my son, a woman, with her own property ruins the house. A drunkard will drown the harvest. A female burglar ladder, she flies into the house like a fly. A she-donkey on the street, a sow suckles its child on the street. A woman who pricked herself begins to cry and holds the spindle which pricked her hand. She enters every house. She peers into all streets. She keeps saying, "Get out." She looks around from all parapets. She pants where there is a curl. Whose heart hates, my son, a heart which overflows with joy. Nothing at all is to be valued, but life should be sweet. You shall not serve things. Things should serve you, my son. You should not gain. Its are numerous. You shall not abuse an ewe. Otherwise you will give birth to a daughter. You shall not throw a lump of earth into money chest. Otherwise you will give birth to a son. You shall not abduct a wife. You shall not make her cry. The place where the wife is abducted to. Let us run in circles, saying, "O my foot, O my neck." Let us, with united forces, make the mighty bow. You shall not kill a. He is a child born by. You should not kill like. You should not bind him. The wet nurses and the mother's corpse determine the faith of their Lord. You should not speak arrogantly to your mother. That causes hatred for you. You should not question the words of your mother or your personal god. The mother, like Untu, gives birth to the man. The father, like a god, makes him bright. The father is like a god. His words are reliable. The instructions of a father should be complied with you. Without suburbs, a city has no center either. My son, a field situated at the bottom of the embankment, be in wet or dry, and nevertheless a source of income. It is inconceivable that something is lost forever. To get lost is bad for a dog, but terrible for a man. An unknown place is terrible to get lost. It is shameful for a dog on the familiar or unfamiliar way. The edge of mountains. The gods of the mountains are man-eaters. They do not build houses. They are as men do. They do not build cities. They're as men do. For the shepherd, he stopped searching. He stopped bringing back the sheep. For the farmer, he stopped plowing to the field. This gift of words is something which soothes the mind. When it enters the palace, soothes the mind. A gift of many words, stars. These are the instructions given by Šuruppak, the son of Ubara-tutu. Praise be the lady who completed the great tablets, the maiden Nisaba, that Šuruppak, the son of Ubara-tutu, gave his instructions. Alright, so that was the instructions of Šuruppak, or Šuruppak. You can get the actual document from the link in the description of the video. It contains about, I would say, 200 lines of information. And this document was from at least 2000 BC or 4000 BC, according to history. So yes, it's about 2600 BC before Christ. So 2600 years before Christ, these instructions were written, and it was based on a flood. And a lot of historians basically parallel the story to Noah and Noah's Ark, because it does speak about a flood, and it does speak about certain instructions that Noah would have passed on to his sons and family. So that is basically it. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. And you have a good afternoon or evening.